that when the Bible speaks about the works of the devil, is talking about every effect and consequence of sin and rebellion that Satan introduced into the world. Everything Satan introduced into the world through sin and rebellion against God is what the Bible calls the works of the devil. And those things, of course, you know that they are things that contradict God's nature, God's will, and God's purpose. So when we are talking about the works of the devil, we are talking about everything Satan introduced on account of rebellion. We are talking about everything that contradicts God's nature, God's will, and God's purpose for man. What are these works of Satan that were born from rebellion, that contradicts God's nature, God's will, and violate God's purpose for man? Number one is sin itself. Sin and rebellion, they are works of Satan. In Romans chapter 5 verse 12, the Bible told us, say, by one man sin entered the world, and therefore death came by sin. So when sin entered the world, when Satan deceived man to bring sin into the world, he was introducing death into the world, because death did not have a passageway into the earth. Death access to the world was through the gateway of sin. So when Satan wanted to bring death into the world, he needed sin to open that door. He said, wherefore as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed on to all men, for they all have sinned. So when Satan wanted to bring death, he deceived the man to rebel against God. So it was through rebellion that sin came. So rebellion and sin, therefore, is the foundation of Satan's work. That's why I told you that when the Bible speaks of the works of the devil, he's talking about everything occasioned by the rebellion of Satan and those he taught that violates God's nature, violates God's will, and undermines man's purpose. So when Jesus came, one of the things he destroyed was the power of sin. One of the things he destroyed was the consequence of sin. So Jesus destroyed both sin and the consequences of sin, because they were the cardinal foundation of the works of the devil.